What's up? Big Herc 916, getting down with Fresh Out. You know how we do it over here. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the channel. Go to freshoutseries.com, pick you up some merch. I'm here with my man,
Just Styles of the Big Homie Told Me show.
You know how we do it, man. And in one of the previous interviews, we talked about him being a CO and, you know, what it's like working in an environment.
Former CO.
Former CO. And now we want to talk about why he left. And, you know, and I've said before, like, you know, people have asked me, Kirk, I want to be a CO, man. You know, what advice would you give me? I said, man, find a different job. You know, for real, find a different job, man, because the psychological and the trade-off for what you think you're getting in monetary, it's not worth it, man. And there's other ways where maybe you can work in somewhere different and catch these kids and young men before they go to prison. So you don't have to deal with that, man, because it's just it's a lot of shit. So what made you leave that world?
You know, I got tired of it. You know, I got like mentally drained. I was mentally fatigued of, you know, dealing with the stress, the pressure. You know, again, you know, my first year I rose so fast. They have a way of, you know, putting you in a position to find the phones, to find the drugs, to find the, you know, all the stuff that's in the prison, you know, to propel you like high, you know.
Bingo.
So you're put in this position now, again, you know, now you're a target almost, you know. So I although I was a grown man at the time, I was so locked in the system, meaning I was so focused on being a good officer, you know, not stepping on anyone's toes in here, because I don't want somebody to catch me slipping, because I've seen it happen so much that it just became uncomfortable for me, where, you know, I know, like, I have this empathy for, you know, guys who are in here because I have fam in the jam, and I know, like, okay, yeah, they did their time, cool, do your time and you do what you got to do, but I'm not here to try to keep my foot on you, you know, and make your day hard. And unfortunately, that's the system. You know, you people say do your 8 and hit the gate. You can't just do your 8 and hit the gate when you on the radio. We need you here, we need you there, do this. Oh, what's that? You just can't do that. Now you have to keep in mind, like, man, you're being looked at a certain way as a human being. You have to be comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with knowing that if you come through as a CO and you disrespect someone in there, they have the ability to contact, and there can be consequences to this, you know. And for me, I started to look at it how you said, you know, the money isn't even worth it, you know, because now, again, yeah, I'm going on these trips and I'm living a good life, but I'm stressed out. I'm not comfortable going certain places. I'm not comfortable being in big crowds, you know. I'll tell you what kind of helped me get over that now is I see guys who were on yards that I worked, you know, and I mean like guys who were like guys on the yard, you know, and they would say to them, and they say to me, you know, you never was an asshole. To me, I hope that gives me, you know, because you don't know how they see you. Again, I got on this uniform. You don't know. Somebody might see me on the street and say, hey, you took this phone or something, or you wrote me up. That's something you got to live with. You know, you got to stand on that. You know, you have to stand on that. You have to be willing to do that, you know. And for me, I'm willing to do that because I know I never went to work to make anyone's day hard, but it became harder for me personally to just go there. So I knew it was like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want to be a part of this. Yeah. And then the pandemic, you know, that changed a lot too, that changed a lot. The pandemic was how they handled it, you know, how, you know, just, it was bad, you know, so that played a part, and it taught me, like, you know, do you guys really care about us?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. it's eye awakening when you go through it. And I used to wonder, when I sat in the prison cell and I used to be meditating, like, man, how did I make that choice to do this? I mean, because it wasn't the actual bank robbery that got me there. It was the choices that led up to that. And then I would, have conversations with people in there, because a lot of guys looked up to me because of, the fact that I did spend a lot of time in a law library and I was pretty articulate. So guys would express things to me and talk to me everything about family relationships, about different things. And you realize, like, we are all human beings, and depending on what that experience is, but when you put people in this uniform and everybody has the same clothes on, they can dehumanize you. And that's how a lot of these people who work in the institutions are able to treat you some kind of way. And I've been in some places where they treated us like animals, man. Literally, I remember being stripped down to just underwear, and they, cuffing everybody and making you sit in a circle, and they had masks on and pointing guns at us in one institution, and they were tearing up our cells and laughing. And man, I just felt like, God, man, what is this right here? And how can people do that? Then the next day at Chow Hall try to say, what's up to you? But you can't see who was who because everybody had a mask on and they were doing it. But these people had guns on us, you know what I mean, in the prison. And so I always said, like, you know what? When I have the opportunity to share my experience, hopefully I can prevent some of these young people from doing, what I did or making the mistakes. And, you got to really learn, you got to really take the time and try to learn rather than just like condemn everybody.
Right.
Once you find out more about what they've been through, it kind of makes sense. And, you were fortunate because at least you didn't actually commit a crime, which made you have to sit up in there and be under the oppression. But like you said, you've seen some stuff as a child that could have took you in a whole nother direction. And we talked about before why we're able to have such anger towards other black men. Yeah. Because the dudes who everybody talking about, you dudes talking about white supremacy, this and that. You're not banging on white. You're banging on brothers. You're banging on a dude. All Chicago. They're killing them, but other brothers. Yeah. L.A. Crip blood. It's all brothers. It ain't no interracial. It's all brothers. So you talk about selling out. That's the biggest sellout. You're killing your own people, man. I mean, dude, you're killing these dudes. Ain't from this side of the street. You ain't from this block. And I used to have that anger too. And I used to be like, you know why? Because I think I had anger toward the fact that maybe I didn't have a dad, and I wish I would have had a dad to play football and catch wood and teach me certain things. So it's easy for me to project that hatred toward another brother and be like, what's happening, nigga? You know what I mean? Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it was easy for that, just like you said.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that if there's going to be any type of change, there can't only be change by one party, meaning one race. We can't, as minorities, expect when we see these, videos of police on the street doing things to unarmed black men and women and, just go out and riot. How about actually doing something? How about going fill out an application so that if you see something like that while you're on patrol, maybe you can step in and say, hey, nah, let's, you know what I mean? That right there is the most important thing. I've saved so many lives in that prison system. I've saved so many lives. And when I say that, I mean things that I knew were wrong and I stepped in like, nah, that's not cool. I risked my life, my freedom. I risked it all just being somebody who was going to speak up because I had the respect, because I earned that I earned that. When you get officer of the year, officer of the month, officer of the quarter, can't nobody talk about your credibility, because what it takes to get that is that you're doing your job, you're professional, you're not causing any problems. No one's, filing any grievances against you. The yard isn't like disrespecting you or going to the warden on you. So I'm not receiving that type of, energy where it's like, nah, he's an asshole. That's why he's finding all the phones or this and that. It was never that. I'm able to de-escalate. I remember there was a time where a lieutenant came, and this was in the detention unit. And, in the detention unit, they, it's where you're one man cell, and it's like, no windows, no nothing. And, a guy had, had cuffs on, and he didn't, allow the officer to take off the cuffs. So he, pulled his arm back through the trap, and it had the key and everything on it. And they're trying to get it off, trying to get it back. Like, of course, like, hey, give it up. And, they're about to go in and spray this dude, spray him down and do whatever you have to do. They're calling, the SWAT, and everybody to come in and get this guy. And I walk over there and I'm like, dude, what you doing, man? It was a brother. I'm like, dude, what you doing, man? Like you tripping. Like, I'm talking to him like that. Like, bro, what are you doing? You tripping. Like, about to come in here, get your ass, and it's a wrap. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And for that moment, I was able to get him out of his mind to where he was like, nah, Robinson, man, they don't give a fuck about us back here. They don't give a, and he started venting his grievances. He
felt helpless.
He felt helpless. So I was able, for that moment at least, to talk him off the ledge, to back to the door so we can take off the cuffs. Now, granted, he did that. There's going to be some consequences. You're going to have to, you're going to have, because you did that. But at least I, at that moment, was able to, hey, what's going on? Everybody else wasn't trying to have that conversation.
No,
Big
I
Hurt.
don't want to hear that.
Big Hurt, they wasn't trying to have that conversation. Big Hurt, they like, nah, we in there. Nah, keep it.
Yeah, it's a wrap, yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the, this is the inhumane thing about the prison system. There has to be some change. People can't be put in position and then forget that, like, you were just an officer too, who was coming through the gate brand new, because that's what happens. As you rise through the ranks, it feels like everyone has to come with their new regime and how they're going to run things. And then the officers, it affects us because we're the ones boots on the ground who have to face with these guys, who are upset, like.
Yeah, all type of circumstances, especially when you're in there and you don't know what a person, like you said, some people, they don't have nothing else to live for. And then it becomes a situation where, like, okay, well, damn, this guy, he feels like life really, unless, once he's lost that little edge and he's given up, dude, it's all bad, so you have to, it's trying to hold on to your reality in prison, especially when you're doing a lot of time, to make it out of there. People think, oh man, that dude, he did all this time, but it's like, to come out and have your sanity and still feel like you have purpose in this world, because a lot of times, I mean, after, I know dudes who's, man, my mom died, my grandma died, my wife left me, man, my kids don't talk to me. It's like, damn, Big Hurt, what do I have, man?
What about the guys who don't get any mail for weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys who, that's a huge thing too. Mail. I mean, I mean that.
Well, mail calls big. I mean,
mail is huge.
I got mail from a handful of people, like here and there, but I didn't get a lot of mail. I didn't get no visits.
Yeah.
So the whole time, my whole not 8 years, 8 months, I didn't get not one visit. So I used to see people go to visiting, and I used to be like, damn, that dude, he's a piece of shit. And somebody's coming to see him. I said, damn, what did I say about me? I can't get nobody to come up here, and this dude's a piece of shit. He gambling. He owe people money. He's using drugs. And I used to be like, damn, man. And I used to just really think like, wow, what is it? What did I do? Even though I knew I did some wrong, but at the same time, nobody even wants to take the time to come see me. So my whole thing is, when I got out, I used that like, you know what? I'm going to prove everybody, and I'm going to get out here and shit on some people. I'm going to have diarrhea. I'm going to have diarrhea on some people, man, because all the people who kind of wrote me off or thought that, you basically, you're a loser, you took your life away, and, I'm going to prove them wrong. So, a lot of what I did and when I got out, as far as to be successful and to, take my life in the direction I did, was to kind of disprove everybody who kind of wrote me off and figured that, I was a lost cause. Yeah. Because a lot of people, they lost faith in me, man. But
there's a saying, not to cut you off, but there's a saying, that you learn very quickly working in a prison, is that, the only difference between the inmates and the officers is that the officers may have not got caught.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, they remind you, like, that's something that you hear all the time. Like, man, the only difference is you didn't get caught. For me, growing up in that stuff, You're absolutely right. But it's also like you did, not when you share your story now, you're doing stuff to lift people up. It's not just a glory story like, oh, I did this time and, I'm tough. Like, no, you did your time. You came home, you created, put yourself and your family in a better situation. That's what it's all about. Not when a guy tells me he's gonna, like, man, I got this plan, I got this girl, and they get out, and then you back in 30 days.
Yeah.
Coming through the Sally Port again, man, what the hell you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, it's about, do you want to change? And I'm not gonna, try to sound insensitive because I understand, like, for someone with a felony, it's hard out here. It's hard, to really get the traction that you need. It can be very difficult. However, there are opportunities, get with people who are doing positive things, that are, actively out here, that are using their voice and their experiences, like Big Herc, who's out here making a change, who's talking to people like me. I mean, I've tried to get on people's podcasts and people like, man, I ain't talking to no cop. Why? I know you aren't you a security guard?
Yeah.
Aren't you security? Yeah. If somebody try to run out the store, what you gonna do? You gonna try to stop them.
Yeah.
And you ain't even got no authority. It's a mentality.
Yeah.
So you telling me, I can't go be a cop or a CO or something like that because of what? I get it. I get the history. I get it. But you'll go fight somebody who's trying to steal to eat. And you don't get no extra pay for that.
Well, you know what, man?
It's a mind thing.
It's a mind thing. I look at it so much different now, I guess, because I look even, when you see somebody hurting some lady, or that could be somebody's grandma.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or this dude robbed somebody's mom, or this dude, he went in there and tortured these people. You like, when you start really thinking of it, you're like, dude, that ain't, you know what I mean? It's just like, come on, man. You know what I mean? It ain't nothing like when you start, the dude, you find out the situation, and you think, damn, dude, that could have been my little sister could have been up in there, or that could have been my niece, or my cousin. And so when you think that's like, you don't want somebody to not hurt those people, and you gotta have. So it's like it's got to make sense. It's like you can't. And when we talk about police on our own, right? People talk about that. We can do this in the community. The only people who did that to a degree were the Black Panthers. Yeah. The mob did it. The mob is like one thing about they said. My mother can walk down in her fur coat and diamonds, and they'll know that's Vinny's mom or that's Big Louie's mom. And the black, ain't nobody protecting nobody. They're mugging and beating up people. I mean, literally going inside people's houses. And it's like, these kids know. So what are you talking about? I'm not saying all blacks, but I'm saying the ones who are doing it need their ass whooped, man. There's accountability. Ain't no passes for that shit. Somebody hurt somebody's mom in the community. You don't want the police around there. What you gonna do about it?
Yes, I agree with that. I agree. I'm not really one of those who's like, we can police our own. Because that really is a mentality. You have to have that. You have to have a certain mentality because, in our community, we know snitches get stitches. Bottom line. So no one's going to talk. No one's going to say anything. So even if you see, it's like, for an example, man, we just seen on the bus. I mean, in New York, what happened?
On the subway.
On the subway.
But they've been terrorizing people for...
The guy gets choked out, right? He gets choked out. But why isn't anyone else at least coming to say, hey, stop?
But the thing is, it wasn't just him. The whole video shows two other people.
Holding him, grabbing his arm.
So then they all put him up, and then he didn't recover. But it wasn't just the white guy. It was two other people. But now because of racial element, and the whole thing is like, this is my thing. Me and you riding the bus every day. And we see this dude, touching, doing... I literally seen when a dude touched on a woman, nobody did nothing. He had a knife to a woman. He was touching her.
Oh,
you see,
okay.
and dude, and so somewhere, and lady said she got assaulted right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Didn't nobody do nothing. Black dude, black woman. One dude, he go up there, he grabbed the woman, come here, and I was like, dude, come on, man. So I'm not saying that the guy woke up one morning and said, hey, I'm gonna go choke a black guy out on the subway. But it's like, at what point do we have 40 arrests, 50 arrests, in and out? This person has. Who's going to step up and help, man?
I think that, with that situation in particular, I think, what I gathered from that is that no one stepped in. And I'll correlate it to how it is in prison. Like, nobody stepped in to even, intervene to say, hey, man, this guy could be dying.
Enough.
enough.
Yeah, enough.
No one even did that. Like, there were people on the subway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, when you're in prison, you know, you've done your time, you know, shit happens. And you can't say nothing. Period. COs, no, we not everywhere. We're not there all the time. So stuff happens. If nobody says or does anything to stop it, it's gonna continue to happen. And the reason I bring that up is the guys who were holding his arms and stuff, they weren't black. The guy choking him was white, and the other two, they weren't black. So my question in that situation is, you know, why didn't they didn't have to be black, but why didn't someone anybody just stand up and say, hey, you know, like, hey man, that's enough. He's done. In prison, no one's gonna stand up and say so-and-so did what, because now that's their life. Now forever, right?
Well, yeah, but see, this makes us human beings though. In prison, it's a whole nother world.
It is.
And there's rules in there that are different than the street. Because in prison, if you eat at this table or you step in this guy's shoes, you turn the TV, you can get stabbed.
Yep.
You can die. But on the streets, you're not supposed to die for stepping on somebody's shoes or going to somewhere and you know, doing something. You're supposed to have respect, but you know, civilians, there's certain things that we have to take into consideration. But people got to the point now where they pull a phone out and it'll be somebody, you know, something be going down. And I'm not saying you gotta be Superman, but damn, man, I mean, you see something, is that right? Like, man, is he taking that kid, or is he beating up that woman? I mean, you just gonna watch or act like you don't see it? I mean, dude, it's gotta be something, man. We gotta get back to some type of, on the streets, some type of morals and values, man.
There has to be some order
There has to be some order, man.
You know,
I'm not saying the guy was right, you know, like he said, he's holding, okay, hey, man, I think the dude, he's good. Okay, let him go. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're looking at other situations. Like I said, I've seen, like 2 months ago, the lady assaulted in Philadelphia. The guy had a thing, and he was fondling the lady on a thing, and she's crying on her way to work. She got sexually assaulted, and everybody watching, man. Black lady, people looking like they don't see.
It's a scary world.
That?
It's a scary world.
I mean, come on, man.
It's a
so
yeah.
You know, we talk a lot. You know, the narrative is a lot of this racial stuff, but beyond that, people, human beings, I don't care if you're black, white, Mexican, Indian, German, Chinese, if I see a human being, something happening, we have to be able to say, you know what, that's not right.
That's it. That's it. That's
a moral compass.
Yeah, like that's not right. Like that's not right. And I think that what's happening so much so now, and we know it's been happening even before your time, like way before us, you know, is people are like, in our community, we're so afraid to even like step in, you know, when it comes to that, because, you know, now, man, if you step in and say something, if somebody's getting arrested and you step in and say something, they're going to arrest you. Now you got a record. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're damned if you do, you damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part about it. I mean, look, I'm a man now, but, you know, I was a kid from San Francisco, Hunters Point. Grew up in all of the tough situations that anybody can speak of, you know, just poverty and everything. Overcame and did a lot. Been with my wife 20 years. So we've been together a long time, and I'm 36, right? So just that discipline to go to college and we stay together, and us to do that, to build up to what we have now, that shows you where, you know, it's a certain mentality. And I'm not saying to do what I do or, you know, anything like that, but it's all the mentality that we have to have as people. You know, we know the difference between right and wrong. We know what we're supposed to do. None of us are perfect. But I believe, in my opinion, that when people looked at me, it was like, man, you was a cop, you was a CO, you was it. Like, genuinely in my mind, it's like, you have no clue. You know, not only of what I've been through, but how much I don't care what you think. Because I know what I did behind those walls. I know how much I helped people. Because people need help behind those walls. Yeah. People need help behind those walls. Let me ask you this, and this is not to put you on the spot. What would prison be like without COs? Honest. What would prison be like without COs?
Dude, it'd be like animals, bro. It'd be people getting extorted, people getting raped, people getting
It'd be the last man
Some
standing.
people wouldn't be have no food. Some people just do. It'd be horrible, man. It would be so bad. And I always said that if they really want to clean up the system, if you got these guys who want to be like super gang members, this and that, you put them over here, and you guys go over here, and you could be all you could be, but you're going to be in it's such a lockdown type situation. That's what you want.
Yeah.
But the guys who are trying to change want to get into meditation, trades, education. Let these guys go over here and do their time and not be pressured into feeling like they got to participate in this nonsense, because that's the only way you're going to change it. But when you have, and I've seen in prisons where they have a good program and they have people learning and doing stuff, they'll bring in knuckleheads to disrupt this thing politically. And they know that, and they know, like, when this dude hits the yard, and people are like, damn, is that so-and-so? And then it's just like, hey, man, this dude's got to check you. It starts a lot of shit. They can lock it down, and then they can justify why they have to have the sword team, why they got to have overtime, why they got to have the vibe, because they have this situation happen at this prison. But they set it up. They created the situation because this was a quiet prison. I remember being in Sheridan, man. I got there from Lompoc USP. I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, they had music. They had an outdoor concert. They had dudes singing, playing the piano. Man, they had weights. They had this weightlifting competition. They had strongman. They had movie night. I'm like, God, man, this is crazy. They had wood desk in the cells. It looked like almost like I'm not gonna go as far as college dorm, but for prison, it was like, man, hardly no barbed wire, man. It was cracking, man. You could do your time. It was not really political. They weren't really tripping on white dudes, black dudes. And then this warden came from Marion, black dude. Remind me of Samuel Jackson and Django. He got there and he looked around. He's like, oh no, man, bro. He came there and he purposely brought in some elements. And his whole goal was to get the prison locked down, to put more barbed wire, to take away the weights, to take away all the programs. These people, man, I tell you guys this all the time, like, they don't care if you become animals. They don't care if you're doing what you're doing in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, different places, because they got a place for you, and then they can justify. So it's basically, they play the long game. And they know that you guys are going to walk right into it. And they're going to be like, well, look, we gave him all the freedom. Look how many times he's been out. That guy's been locked up 10 times, and look, he ain't stopped. And you're like, well, hey, no bail. I thought you were... Nah, they've set your ass up. They know you're going to hang yourself.
Man.
And then when they come with the new laws, oh, dude, you're a 10-time felon. You're done. Bye. They're going to send you out to some mega prison in the middle of nowhere.
So I didn't say it earlier, but I worked at Lewis Prison, here in Arizona. And it's the newest prison in Arizona. And recently it was on the news. It made the news for the worst Arizona. It made the news for the worst prison system in the country. Because at Lewis Prison, the doors haven't been working for 10, 15 years. Mind you, the prison is only about 26, 27 years old. If I'm right, it's around that old. So that's fairly young. But the doors don't work. So we're talking level 4 yards, you know what I mean? Level 3, level 5s, where guys are popping themselves out. This is all on YouTube. This is everywhere. This is on the news. They made CNN, and guys are getting poked up. Bodies dropping. Officers being assaulted. It was on the news. One of the officers I worked with, orbital bone was broke, really beat him down, almost lost his life, beat on him really bad. And, one of the inmates didn't get charged, because he tried to play he was helping, trying to help stop it role, but everything was on camera. It's all there, it's all there. And that is a part of, why I also got out of there, because again, I understood after being there for so long, that there are politics here that are just not going to change, and that's for administrative side and as well as the yard, so no matter how good of an officer you are, how honest you are, how much you just come to do your work and go home, shit ain't gonna change, man.
Yeah.
You know, shit ain't gonna change, and it ain't gonna change for you. No. So you better you better just just go along with the system, and
really just change your surroundings. Like you said, you could, the fact that you work, you can say, hey man, I'm done. I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, man, look.
I had a guy on the yard tell me that.
Yeah.
One of the big dogs on the yard. He told me. He said, man, because we were talking, and he said, man, you too smart for this. He said, you too smart to be here. Like, why are you here? Why would you want to be working in here, like working in the prison? And I was like, what's wrong with working in the prison? He said, man, why would you want to be in here with us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, why would you want to be in here with us? Because I always, whenever I have conversations, I'm encouraging. You know what I mean? I'm encouraging, like, hey, man, you got a date. Get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you could do, no matter what race.
You got a different energy.
Yeah, like, no matter what race, I'm always coming in. Like, whenever I'm having a conversation, it's, like, hey, man, you got a date, man. Get up out of here. That's how, again, these level 3, these are cats who never getting out. I'm talking about the toughest of the toughest, like I'm having these conversations and stuff, and it's like, they're telling me the stories, about how, like, nah, it wasn't me. I didn't really do it, but I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, and you can, you said you read energy, if somebody is being honest with you, like, nah, I wasn't there. I didn't do it, but I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you hear stories like that, who's bluffing and BSing after you had enough conversations. Like, nah, you did that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you can't tell. You can't tell, because when you're having so many conversations like that, it almost, it makes you feel like there's no hope in the world. When you're a CEO and you're seeing everything that you see is just everybody around you is a felon for something. So it changes your mind to think like, damn, I can't trust anybody, because there's a lot of dudes in there. And I'm not saying that's how I feel, but it makes you think that. It does. It makes you think, like, damn, like.
Well, no, you take on a certain type of mentality. And I know, like, I was in there, I didn't have any homies or anything, people I knew from the street. So for me, trying to find other people in there that I can relate, I used to be like, man, it's few and far between.
Yeah.
And, and all the time I'd be watching my back, man, because I would see dudes, they would just be mad at me, man. I'd walk around, and I mentioned this before, I had a DuPont register, I had the Wall Street Journal, I'd have the Forbes magazine, I'd have a couple of different magazines, Rob Report, Business Weekly, and I'd be in a law library doing law stuff, and then I'll look at this stuff and be visioning like, oh man, and I had a vision board on in my cell on the wall,
right? And
I had like pictures of nice houses and cars and different things, and dudes are like, Big Herc, what you gonna do when you get out, man? I said, oh man, I'm gonna travel, I'm gonna do this and that. And like, how you think you're gonna do that? I said, because I can do whatever I want to do when I get out.
For sure.
And some of the guys who are CEOs are like, they were looking, but they were stuck because, see, this is your career. This ain't my career. I'm here doing time, but I'm not really doing time.
That's big.
I'm just on timeout.
Yeah.
I'm passing through. But you're here. When I leave, you're still gonna be here. I'm leaving.
That's big. That's deep. That's deep.
So
Herc. Yep.
Dudes will trip out on me because and some dudes will get mad. You think you're gonna get out here and get a yacht or do this and that? I said, man, there's a lot of things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get out here and live life.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get out here and put myself in an environment that puts a good smile on my face and a good aura around me. Yeah. And so that's one of the things. That's why I always say, man, like, dudes ask me, I said, man, don't go work in the prison, man. Let that place let that system die off.
Nah,
you know what I mean? Don't for what?
I tell you, now looking back at it, like, I don't regret that I did it, because I learned a whole lot. I learned a whole lot about myself and about life in general. Yeah. Just, I've always been personable, but I've really learned working in the prison just not to judge how important it is just not to judge somebody, and I can say, just as a grown man, again, I was 29 when I went in, so I was already a grown man with the family, with the home already. So my thinking was different. Now, they got cats 18 years old, you can go work in a prison. That's how short staffed they are. So you mean to tell me, there's an 18-year-old kid who I have to trust to watch my back if something goes down on his yard. It shows you just how much you aren't protected, in there. Yeah, you can give somebody training, but when you got with all due respect, a guy big like you, and then you got this 18-year-old kid fresh out of 12th grade, it's not even, and then, all you get is the spray. So if somebody coming at you and you spray, that just make them mad. That just make them more mad, because by the time that, they've probably already been sprayed. So now they're going to keep coming at you. I've seen it, I've seen that. So I learned that it's not bad to be a CO, but it is questionable about like, damn, why would you pick that career? But again, I went in with the thought process of I wanted something different. I wanted something new. But the same way you said, like, man, like, to the COs, like, this is your career. I'm leaving here. You know what I mean? That's so powerful. And here's why. Because when you're in there and you're already, and I'm talking from a CO standpoint, and you're already thinking like, damn, man, this job is bullshit, man. This, the admin is this, admin is that. And then and it may say something like that to you. We already don't get no love for doing this job.
Yeah.
It's already looked at less. Oh, you couldn't be a real cop. You couldn't go on the street. You know what I mean? You're already feeling those pressures in your mind. No matter who you are as a CO, you're thinking that. So if an inmate says that to you, you're like, damn, like, you know what? He's right. So all you can come back with is, oh, you're in here. I'm not saying that I've said that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you're in here.
Yeah.
So naturally, what does that do? Now, the officer has to exert his power on you. Hey, lock down. Nah, I got 30 more minutes. Nah, what I said, lock down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that becomes the cycle.
Yeah.
Let's say, let me just get this in real quick. And inmate has to, inmate got caught, doing some, smoking or whatever, smoking some spice or whatever. LOPs, loss of privileges, 30 days or whatnot. After 30 days, you got to take a urine test, a UA, so you can get your privileges back, your phone calls and stuff like that. Okay, 30 days come, now, you're just looking for an officer. Any officer can do it. Any officer can give you a UA. Any officer can, take you and UA you, but the officer has to get it has to be 2 signatures. Guys, LOP, he's like, hey, man, CO. Not to me, but to other COs, like, oh, man, CO, can you UA me? Nah, man, get another, somebody, I'm busy, Now, it turns into 31 days, 35 days, 40 days, 60 days of LOP because an officer don't want to UA you. When all he has to do is get the cup and take you to the restroom, and then you UA, and then, you pass, okay, we sign it off, you get your visits back, you get your everything back. But if an officer doesn't do their job, or just feels like, nah, I'm not gonna do that for you, now a 30-day LOP turns into a 60-day. A 60-day can turn into a 90-day.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
that's the God complex in there. That's the God complex.
So it's like, you're for now. This person hasn't talked to their family in 30 days. Now, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go get a burner, a cell phone or something. Now they're gonna pay somebody to use the phone or something. Now they get caught on the phone because the camera or something, or there's a random search and they call with the phone. Now you go from 30 to 60 to 90-day LOP. Now you just use the phone. Depending on what's on there, that might add more time on your sentence. Don't have a Facebook and Instagram or something where you're communicating with people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the world it's like so inside prison, it is a different world. You trapped in that cycle. We were doing before, like one time we were doing quarterly searches, and man, a phone started ringing. Quarterly searches was like every quarter, they go through and just rip through everything. It's quarterly. You just go through literally, and that's probably what you were talking about earlier when they came in with the mask and stuff like that, and they were ripping through, searching everybody's houses and stuff. We had that as well. It's called quarterly searches. You never know when it was going to happen. We didn't even know. They'd just say, hey, go do it. But when you're doing that, you have people who are vandalizing people's pictures, families' pictures. These are the only pictures they have. These are pictures from their parents, from family, their kids. It's just, it's heartless, and I'm not saying that I'm saying that because without any understanding from any side, it'll continue to be that, an officer should never, search somebody's house and they see a picture and just to be spiteful, step on a picture or throw it away. Or these are things that the outside public don't know about, that happens behind the walls, because what that does is it put other officers in jeopardy.
Well, I've even seen, like, my partner was telling me where, these officers are jealous because the dude got a bad female coming up there. They try to pop at the female. And, dude, the dude find out, like, dude, he'll kill you. That's all he has? You're going to get at his wife or his girlfriend and he in prison?
Listen, I worked in visitation as well. I did that. So you see, I've had, young kids. I say kids because usually they're 20, 21, fresh on the yard, first visit, ACO, I gotta go. They rolling up, PCing up, like, wow, like, what's going on? Man, they want me to, have my girl bring this in, bring that in. And I can't deal with that. No. I don't care. F it if they're gonna kill me, man. They tell me they're gonna kill me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just as a human, it's like, damn, and they not playing because you've seen it before.
Yeah.
It's not no game where, people outside, they see it on the TV or the movie.
Well, like you said, a lot of you do the straight dirtbags. They don't care. You're in there doing your girl's coming to visit and he's like, damn, you got 3 visits this month? Hey man, my girl gonna roll with you. His girl dirty. He don't care though, because he's not, he's in there living, being all he can be. He's not looking to do programs or that's what he does. He's a dope man in there. Yep. And you get visits every month, 4 times a month. My girl gonna ride with you, but his girl's under investigation. You don't even know it.
And you don't even know it. Those are the things that are important, because people on the outside, unless you've done time or you're a CO, you don't know. Like you just hear the stories. Like, so I have like friends who've done time, like, man, and I had put out a video before and it was just like, like I haven't been an inmate, but doing time, I can only imagine it's hard just because of what I've seen, what I've had to deal with, cats getting hot shots and dying, and I'm having to do CPR until firefighters get there when this guy's dead. You know what I mean? Things like that. You're dealing with that on a daily basis, and guys don't care. It's not just like you said, like, nah, my girl gonna ride with you. She gonna ride with your girl to this visit, and if you don't do what we need, then you're not gonna be on this yard. So then you get guys who go to these, they're no longer considered PC yards, because again, everything is really integrated now, where it's where there's some PCs on GPs, and it's just like to the point where you can't fight everybody, because on GP, when I first started, it was if you had bad paperwork, it was a wrap, you off the yard. But they did a here in Arizona, I know they did a huge sweep. I mean, they not just Lewis, it was other prisons, and everybody just swapped. It was like a huge, everybody from the yard was moved to different complexes, and it was just like a 3-day thing, and you just seen it was crazy how it happened, because it was like you taking 1,700 men, and you just packing them all up, putting them on a bus and shipping them to somewhere they don't know about. They don't know, so they're coming like, hey man, where am I going? And they didn't know where they were going until they got there. So you don't know, they didn't know where they was going, and they thinking we're lying when we're like, man, I don't know where you're going. Like, I don't know. We don't know where you're going. Horrible, man. And they getting shipped throughout the state. So then you start getting, guys who had bad paperwork on the yard with actual GP people, you know, and killings start happening, fights start happening, yard locked down 2 months, 3 months. These are the things that's happening. And then what do you think happens when the yard opens back up? What do you think? The same thing happens.
Yeah, the administration
Fights.
They don't care though. They don't care. Them people, man, at the top, man, just like the people in our government at the top, they don't care. You know what I mean? They're the same people. They're living in they good neighborhoods, and they come through and they talk. They got the security, and just like the administration, they come. They they clean the prison, clean the kitchen. They have all these people come in there. They serve special food that day. You ain't never seen this food being served. Oh, you go to the kitchen like, damn. What is this? They done pulled out some shit that out of the deep freezer.
They pulled it out the deep freezer, out the way out the back.
Come on, man. They act like this and that.
You gotta have a warden key for that.
Every now and then they have somebody to pull an inmate to the side, and someone's supposed to talk to you. So how do you? And they already have to do picked out. Yeah. So how's it? Oh, the institution, blah blah blah. That's all lies and bullshit. And that's the game, man.
That's the game. And more importantly now, what I feel like, you know, the message that I really, you know, am honored to be on your, you know, on your platform to even mention is that there has to be some change, you know, within the prison system. And one particular way I can say in Arizona, because that's where I work, is more programs. You know, they need, you know, in Arizona, there has to be more programs so that there's not such a high recidivism rate. Because there's really no programs, you know, GP yard, doors open at 6 a.m., you know, for chow. They don't close back till about 11 o'clock. That's count, you know, open back up, close back down around 5 for count, you know, then it opens back up for dinner chow. And then, you know, everything closes down around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So everything, of course, is structured. But you see the same people running the yard, getting high. You know, cats come in there and, you know, they come in and in 30 days you see them no teeth. You know, and I'm not talking about no teeth like they got beat up.
No, I mean they're
that hard, you know, all that stuff, that heroin, the black tar, all of the stuff that's in the prison system. It's like, you know, there has to be programs so that people can kind of spend their time doing something constructive. Because if not, you know, when you're on these yards, you know, it's just a free world.
You need
not free world, but it's just like people are just roaming around. It's just like a city in itself. You know, no holds barred. You know, so there has to be some type of programs that can be implemented that can help people do their time, like people like you who was in the law library, who was, you know, doing things to help educate yourself. More programs need to be put in place for people to try to do that, because I can say on a general population yard, everybody gonna put in work some way or another. You gonna put in work. There's no way around it. You're gonna have to put in some work, and even if you don't want to put in some work, you're gonna have to put in work and prove to people why they don't need to be coming to you to put in work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fighting or whatever, and we know that, you know. But there's not much we can do, you know. Well, not me anymore, but there's not much COs can do because we're so understaffed, you know. So, you know, when we talking about, you know, people being raped and stuff in prison, you know, that happens a lot. You know, we've seen it a bunch of times, and there's nothing we can really do about it other than putting you on a different yard. And then once you're marked, you know, once you're marked,
it follows you.
You know, and no matter what, you know, the cell phones, everybody got one on everywhere. Yeah. So everybody
got the 411 before you even get to where you go.
Before you even get there,
they already know.
They already know.
Somebody took his cheeks,
man,
or he was taking cheeks, Yeah, and you get no respect with that either, because you're a predator.
Come on, and we seen it. You know, I'm talking, you know, and this is for all the people who ask me when they see me, they always ask me, is it true? Is it really like that? Listen, yeah, it's really like that. You know, in the state prison that, you know, I worked.
I was in the Fed, so it was a little bit different, but, you know, state is
animals. Grimy.
It was grimy.
State is grimy.
A lot of those dudes who would normally be like on probably Skid Row out here in Phoenix or I mean, when they get to prison and they get a little food, and then so you're taking an animal that's been living off the streets. Imagine just scavenging, and you give him some food, and now he's like, oh shit, and this becomes his world.
The playing field is slightly leveled at this point.
Yeah.
Where you can be on the street and you're just a bogus nobody.
Nobody even looks at you.
Nobody looks at you, but you get on that yard and you know how to politic and move around. Now you turn yourself into the guy. And I you know, guys will tell you, so there's people who go to prison because 3 hots in a cot. You know, you got 3 meals, you know, you can take shower whenever you want. And some people they're transient. You know, they live on the streets, you know, they're homeless. So they feel like, nah, man, I'll go to prison, man. It's not that bad. You know, and I had a conversation with this guy, this inmate, and he's, you know, we're having like a real conversation, man. You know, because he's asking me, man, why the fuck are you in here, man? Like, you know, like, why are you working in here, man? Like, I can tell you probably got family in prison. You know, and this is, you know, because it's a lot of OGs in prison. So, you know, they gonna talk to you straight. They not gonna, you know, they gonna talk to you straight. So they saying, like, man, what the fuck you in here for, man? You supposed to be doing something else with yourself, man. Why you gonna be in here, man? You volunteer to come in here with us? Like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
They look at you and they see in your position, there's so many other things you could be doing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know what I mean? When I see a dude like him, dude, you're not like all the other dudes. Why are you in here?
I get it. And to him, I told him, you know, if I wasn't in here, who would be doing what I'm doing? From the standpoint of, you know, like when shit is getting blown out of proportion, instead of that tower shooting that gas down, if I'm that person that's able to talk you off the ledge or talk people off the ledge because of the respect you have for me, then God put me here for a reason, you know, for my season, you know, and that's the real conversation and dialogue that I have, because like you said, in prison, it's evil, man. So people don't really have, people like, unless you're, you know, becoming Muslim or something like that, not too many people, you know, they'll pick up the Bible, but they're not even trying to hear none of that. You know, they're too focused on survival mode.
Yeah.
So you have to try to get them out of their element to kind of pour into them. Like, listen, man, you know, this ain't all you got. If you got a date, you know, like, this is what's going on the outs. You know, you can get into Wall Street, you can get to tech, get into real estate. You know, just letting them know other things so that when they're walking around, you know, they're thinking. See, what you're doing is so noble because of you did your time, but you got out and changed your life and did what you had to do to put your family in a better position. You're not just living on these glory stories. You know, like, oh, I went to prison, I did this, I did that, I seen this, I seen that, and you just living on some glory stories. And you get, and just because in our community, if you graduate college, you don't get a lot of likes or pats on the back and all of that.
Yeah.
But you come home from prison, you getting cards, you getting there, everybody showing you love because you went to prison.
I know, it's sad, bro.
It's very sad.
It's sad.
Very sad.
It's sad. Dudes bragging about how many keys they have to do through 30 years.
Come on.
20-something years. And like, oh, but remember, but at the height, how many drugs did you... It's like, why are you talking about the height? He did 20... Dude, that's 20 years of life.
And what are you doing now that you're out? You know? You would tell him, you'll call me a sellout, you'll call me a coon, you'll call me all of that stuff, right? Because I made a decision to take my life in a different path and take care of my family. I could see if I was here or if I came to work and I was that guy who was like, nah, lock down. You hear what I said. You know, if I was that person, yeah, I deserve whatever I got coming. That's a common saying in there. You're gonna get what you got coming.
Yeah.
If I was that person, somebody would have did something to me.
That's right.
That's a fact. Because I'm not sitting here today trying to act like I'm just this tough guy and I was in the prison, you know, checking. No, that wasn't me. I was respectful. You know what I'm saying? But I stood my 10 toes, no matter who it was. It was times that I had put my radio down and was surrounded, you know, And nothing happened by the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? Because I patted down somebody who was the head of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't no brothers, but they was ahead, and I patted them down because they came in late. And that's the policy. If you coming in late, you get patted down. And he had a problem with that. He had a real problem with that because he was with his boys, and, you know, I had patted him down. I patted all of them down. And he had a real problem with that. You know, like, man, come on, man, you know where I'm coming from, man. You ain't have to do all that. And I'm like, man, I'm just doing my job. Like, I'm just doing my job, man. And, you know, he kind of squared up with me. Now, mind you, I'm in the way that the runs were, they're runs A through F. And there's about 50 to 60 people in each run. So they're not sales. And this is on the GP yard. So it's him and his 3 boys walking in the run in the tier, and there's windows all around. So everybody who's in there, including the bubble officer, you know, sees him, you know, kind of square up a little bit, you know, kind of, you know, size me up a little bit. And, you know, he was with his boys. I was the only officer out there. And at that time, I was like, come on, man, it ain't even like that. Like, I'm not trying to, and I'm not saying it in a timid way. I'm saying it like, nah, man, you know the drill. I'm not, you know, I have to do this. Like, that's my job. You coming in late, that's what it is. Nah, I don't want to hear none of that shit. I said, okay, so what's happening? What we doing? I said, what we doing? What are we doing right now? That's what I said. I said, what are we doing? He said, what do you mean what we doing? And this could have got me fired. I could say, now I don't work there anymore. I put my radio down. My officer was about to call backup because he's seen both of these guys, you know, getting in position almost. And everybody's looking. You know, everybody's looking. Everybody, you know, this G.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking. These are big windows. So everybody's like, what's going on? Because he's a big dog. But I explained to him, like, listen, man, like, I put the radio down, and I didn't put my radio down to show an act of aggression. I put my radio down to let him know, like, whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen. But this is why I did what I did, and that's it. Like, so if we not about to, you know, go there, then let's just keep it moving, man. Straight up. And all glory to God. And I say that because that could have went left. It could have, like, Big Herc, you know, that could have went left because in prison, it's pride. It's ego in there.
A lot of ego.
You can't, you know, so again, I wasn't coming off like I was trying to yoke nobody because I got the badge. I'm coming off like, nah, man, you know that this is what I got to do. When you coming in this building late, you know the drill. But on this day, you tripping on me. But those are the type of situations that you deal with when you in there. You know, you strong, you young, you in shape. You know, cats looking at you like, oh, you think you the shit because you got the badge. When in your mind, you ain't even thinking about none of that. You thinking about getting this money, what you finna do for the weekend. You thinking about just doing
the streets. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you're not in there all like that's your life though.
I ain't right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So after that, the big dog, like the head. And the only reason I'm not saying the race that it was is just, you know what I mean? But the head, you know what I'm saying? He came, you know, he came out after when we opened up because I still had to do counting there. So this is what I want people to know. I just got into it with this dude, but I got to do count. So I got to walk in 6 runs with his homeboys doing count by myself. So I got to walk in these runs doing count, looking up. So if he felt some type of way or any of his boys or anything, it was over for me, right? Let's be honest. But the respect, because I, like, man to man told him, because that's what prison is. It's respect. Sometimes you can back out. Sometimes, I take that back. If somebody call you out for a fight, you got to fight, period. That's just how it goes. You just got to do that. But in that situation, I was able to de-escalate. By getting him to understand, like, look, man, this ain't personal. You know that. No matter what he was going through mentally at that time, because I don't know what he was going through. Come to find out, you know, like I said, the big dog, you know, of his race, you know, after when everything was opened up, He was like, hey, I want to holler at you or whatever, talking to me. Now, if I'm one of them officers like, nah, you ain't got shit to say to me. No, there's officers like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Like, you ain't got nothing to say to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool, bet, because that's how I am. I'm like, shit, nah, I'm gonna attack this head on, like straight up, because I don't want to watch my back. I don't want to have to watch my back like that when I'm on this yard. If somebody feel like they got something against me, say it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna come at you straight up, because again, I felt in my mind I'm already here. Mm-hmm. Whatever happens, happens. He's like, yeah, man, he's going through a lot. His mom passed. And it just so happened that I'm the one who's standing right in front of him to remind him of where he's at by patting him down, and he already in a mood. And, so that right there is like, you never know what people going through.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that situation right there could have went different, man. I could have lost my life. They could have put a hit on me. You know what I'm saying? They could have did anything. Just from that one situation, just like you said earlier, you step on somebody's shoes in prison, you can die. That situation right there, it got heated. He was raising his voice at me. Like, and I'm not letting him raise his voice. His homeboys right here, one, for sure, I know is ready to take off. Yeah, for sure. This ain't I'm not sitting here trying to make it sound like I'm the toughest. No, like I knew he was ready to get off on me, period. That's when I put my radio down and I told the officer, don't call for no backup. You know what I'm saying? And if the officer, he know who he is, I won't say his name because it'll implement, but he know, I was like, nah, this is me. So he didn't call. You know what I'm saying? He's like, nah, fuck that, Robinson, fuck that, I ain't having that, fuck that, you know what you doing? What I'm doing? Like, what am I doing? Dude postures on the side of me. I'm here. The dude, the main guy's here. Other guy's here. Once a guy takes a step to the side, and positions himself kind of just to the side of you where you can't do what you need to do, it's about to get ugly. But I told him like, look, you don't want to do that. Like, you don't want to do that. I looked at him like, you don't want to do that. Like, don't do all of that for this, because it ain't worth all that. Yeah. And by the grace of God, man, I was able to get through that situation. That's just one situation, but I got through that when it could have got really ugly, because at that time, I can tell that he had nothing to lose. He was already doing 20. Yeah. He already doing 20. So he didn't care if he would have took off on me and they would have gave him an extra 2-3 years, because that's all he would have probably got, 2-3 years extra, So I learned from that situation, like, this is real. I knew it was real, but that situation, that was one of the situations too that was like, I'll tell you it was off camera, but real big, real serious shit, and it was really, it was one of those moments in my life that I had to look like myself in the mirror when I got home. Like, damn, like that happened. And it could have got ugly. Because my partner, he knew it was getting ugly because it got loud. I mean, come on, man, we talking 300 inmates, like all in the shoe, like in there, and I'm talking about one of the main the capo, you know what I'm saying? The right-hand man to the man. All I did was pat him down. My job. And he didn't like that. So situations like that, are, although they seem small in a sense, it's like, nah, just on with your job. Again, prison is so prideful. You have men, who have nothing to lose. And at any second, any time, they can take over that prison and it's over for you.
There you have it. Big Herc 916.
You tired of smelling like stanky butt, funky armpits? Wash your ass. Go to FreshOutSeries.com and pick you up a bar of soap